what's up guys, it's Richie here with week 2 of college football. Alright, I'm going to have 2 videos. I'm going to have this one, which is the noon and midday games, so noon and 3:30 games. Then I'll have another video that should be the prime time, and I'm considering prime time 7 o'clock games or later. So hopefully that'll make these videos a little bit shorter because I have a whole lot going on. Alright, first game of the day. Arkansas State at Kansas State at noon. So that one actually got flipped earlier, so let me go there. Alright, Arkansas State, they actually played a game last week. They lost to Memphis 37-24. They played both of their quarterbacks. Lane Hatcher passed for 166 yards. Logan Bonner passed for 133 yards, 1 touchdown, but threw 2 picks. They did move it pretty decently, but they turned over 4 times, which hurt them in that game. Kansas State, they're coming off an 8-5 season. They only have 9 returning starters and only 2 on offense, but their quarterback is returning, Skylar Thompson. He's a decent dual threat quarterback. Passed for 2,315 yards, total touchdowns, 5 picks, plus 405 rushing yards and 11 touchdowns. They were the 27th scoring defense in the country last year as well, so the 7 starters back on defense, it will help them there. This will be kind of an interesting game. Arkansas State's usually one of the better Sun Belt teams. Kansas State's a decent Big 12 team. Kansas State has a good defense. Arkansas State has a good offense, so it should be a really good non-conference matchup, to be honest. I'm going to go Kansas State here to get that win. Alright, then you got Louisiana. The Louisiana Raging Cajuns have the Sun Belt against Iowa State in the Big 12. Iowa State, one of the better teams in the Big 12. Louisiana Lafayette, one of the best teams in the Sun Belt, and one of the better teams in maybe all of Group of 5. Alright, you got Louisiana Lafayette. They were 10th in scoring offense last year, 18th in scoring defense. They have 14 returning starters, 7 on each side. A really good quarterback in Levi Lewis. 3,050 yards passing, 26 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions. They have one of the best running games in the past few years in the country. The last couple of years, they basically got a 3-headed monster at running back. Now they lost one to the NFL, but they have 2 guys back. One, Eli Mitchell, ran for 1,147 yards and 16 touchdowns. And then Trey Ragas, he, quote, only ran for 820 yards and 11 touchdowns, but 2 years ago, he ran for over 1,100 yards. So you got 2 1,100-yard running backs coming back on that offense. Faced against Iowa State, who went 7-6 last year. By the way, Louisiana Lafayette went 11-3 last year. Iowa State, 7-6. They also have 14 returning starters, 5 on offense, 9 on defense. Brock Purdy, their quarterback, 3,982 yards, 27 touchdowns, only 9 picks. Breece Hall came on late at the end of the year. He ran for 897 yards, and most of that was over the last 5 games. He really turned it on. This could be a pretty high-scoring game. Could be a shootout. I'm going to go Iowa State though to get the winning in, but they're an upset alert. Right? Louisiana can score pretty much with anybody. All right, then you got another. I don't know. I like this one. Charlotte and Appalachian State. Charlotte, they've only been in existence as a football team since 2013 was their first season ever with football. Last year they had a first-year coach, and he brought them to a bowl game, their first bowl game in their history. They went 7-6. They had 13 returning starters. Chris Reynolds at quarterback, 2,564 yards, 22 touchdowns to 11 picks, plus 767 rushing yards and 6 touchdowns. Victor Tucker, 52 catches, 909 yards. They have a defensive end, Marquise Watts, who had 9.5 sacks. They actually lost Ben LeMay, who was their 1,000-yard running back, but they got a grad transfer from Northern Illinois named Trey Harbison, who ran for 1,021 yards and 8 touchdowns. So they replaced the 1,000-yard back with another 1,000-yard back. Their offense should be pretty decent, but it is Appalachian State. Appalachian State, they were 13-1 last year. They finished number 19 in the AP poll. They are one of the best Group of 5 teams, bar none, period. They had 13 returning starters, 9 on offense, 4 on defense. Their top returning receiver, Corey Sutton, he decided to opt out because of COVID, but they do have a really good steady quarterback in Zach Thomas coming back. 2,718 yards, 28 touchdowns to only 6 interceptions, plus over 400 rushing yards and 7 touchdowns. This could be pretty interesting, but I'm going to go Appalachian State here. Appalachian is they're a really, really strong team. All right, then you got, let's see, you got Eastern Kentucky against West Virginia. Eastern Kentucky, they actually played last week against Marshall. I think Marshall killed them 59-0. West Virginia, they went 5-7 last year. They had 12 returning starters, 6 on each side. They have both quarterbacks back. They are actually starting Jarrett Dagey, who last year he came in the last like 4 games of the year, passed for 818 yards, 7 touchdowns, 3 picks. But 2 years ago at Bowling Green, he had like 2,700 yards and 27 touchdowns to only, I think, 12 picks. So, and personally, I think he should have started earlier last year. I think he will get that offense going. I think Eastern Kentucky should be a decent tune-up game for him to get going. You know, I think he's a possible sleeper, all Big 12 kind of quarterback there. All right, Syracuse and North Carolina. You have an ACC game, one of the first conference games of the season here. Syracuse and North Carolina. Syracuse coming off a 5-7 season. They only have 9 starters though. Their quarterback, he did okay, 2,360 yards, 19 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. They have one of the best defensive backs in the nation though, and he is Cisco. He had 5 picks last year as a sophomore, and the year before as a freshman had 7. So he's a ball hawk for sure. Now you got North Carolina, who is coming off a 7-6 season, and in my opinion, they're going to be one of the most fun teams to watch in the nation. ACC sleeper for sure. They have Sam Howell, quarterback, who in my opinion is a Heisman candidate. They only went 7-6 last year, but all 6 of their losses were by 7 points or less, including only a 1-point loss to Clemson. Sam Howell, their quarterback, he was a freshman and set a freshman record with 38 touchdown passes to only 7 interceptions. They have a running back, Michael Carter, come back, who ran for over 1,000 yards. And they have Javonte Williams, another running back who ran for 933 yards. Then you had 2 receivers get over 1,000 yards last year. Daz Newsome, 1,018. Diami Brown at 1,034. So they have guys all over the place. I think they're going to put up points in bunches. Syracuse, they have the coach who can put up points, so this could be pretty high scoring, but I think North Carolina is going to surprise a lot of people that weren't paying attention to them last year. I think North Carolina has got this game down. All right, then you go to Duke and Notre Dame. So Duke coming up for 5-7 season, 13 returning starters. They don't really have a whole lot. They got Chase Bryce, who was a grad transfer for Clemson at quarterback. Then you got Notre Dame, who went 11-2. They have a quarterback, Ian Book, in my opinion, is a Heisman candidate. Passed for 3,034 yards, 34 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions, plus over 500 rushing yards. They have one of the top scoring defenses and top scoring offenses in the country. I don't think this will be close to Notre Dame takes Duke pretty easily. All right, then you got Louisiana Monroe Warhawks against Army. Louisiana Monroe went 5-7 last year. They do have 14 returning starters, but they're losing a really good quarterback there. But that being said, they have one of the better running backs in the Sun Belt. Josh Johnson ran for 1,298 yards, one of the best tight ends in the country. And Josh Peterson, 43 catches, 567, and 9 touchdowns. Against Army, who did play last week, and they demolished Middle Tennessee State 42-0. They ran for 340 yards. They forced 4 turnovers and had a pick 6. With that being said, I think Army should be able to win this game against Louisiana Monroe. Just because Louisiana Monroe lost their quarterback, and Army seemed to have everything they wanted to there. All right, then you got Georgia Tech at Florida State. Georgia Tech went 3-9. They do actually, both Georgia Tech and Florida State both have 17 returning starters each, which is one of the tops in the country. Georgia Tech, they're not sure who they're going to start at quarterback. They have Jordan Mason, a running back, ran for 899 and 7 touchdowns. FSU, they're going to start Jamie Blackman at quarterback, 2,339 yards, 17 touchdowns, 11 picks. Tamari and Terry, one of the better receivers in the country, 60 catches, 1,188 yards, and 9 touchdowns. When they won graduate transfer, I'm actually kind of excited about is Miko Dotson. He was at Florida Atlantic last season and led the nation with 9 interceptions. The Seminoles had the good fortune of getting him in grad transfer, so watch out for him to make a huge name for himself this year. I'm going to go Florida State with this. I'm a Gator fan, but Georgia Tech is really not great. Florida State, they're mediocre, but they at least have a little more talent than Georgia Tech. All right, then we got UTSA and Texas State. So the Texas San Antonio Roadrunners against Texas State. UTSA is coming off a 4-8 season. They have 12 returning starters. They have a grad transfer and New Mexico State quarterback Josh Adkins, who he's got a lot of ability and a lot of experience. Last year, 2,500 yards, 14 touchdowns, 15 picks, which isn't great. The year before, 2,500 yards, 13 touchdowns, 9 picks. It doesn't sound great, but for a team like UTSA to have a veteran quarterback come in the New Mexico State offense, they like to pass around a lot, so he could be decent there. Plus, UTSA has a good running back in Sincere McCormick, ran for 983 yards and 8 touchdowns. Texas State, they lost their first game against SMU last week, but they were a lot closer than I thought they'd be. They only lost 31-24. Brady McBride, a quarterback, he passed for 227 and 2 touchdowns. Running back Calvin Hill ran for 100 yards. They had 416 yards of offense and actually forced 4 turnovers in that game. I think this game will be pretty close. After seeing Texas State, though, last week, I'm going to actually go with them to beat UTSA. All right, then at 3:30, you got 1AA Campbell against Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern always has one of the best running games in the country with that triple option. They're coming off a 7-6 season. They're a player for maybe the Sun Belt title this year as well. They have quarterback Shea Wertz, who like I said, they have a triple option. He only passed for 799 yards, but 9 touchdowns and 1 pick. And 2 years ago as a starter, he had 10 touchdown passes and 0 interceptions. So that's 1 pick over 2 seasons. That's incredible. So I think Georgia Southern should figuratively, literally run all over Campbell. All right, then the last midday game, Austin Peay at Pitt at 4 o'clock. Pitt coming off an 8-5 season, 15 returning starters. Kenny Pickett seems like he's been there forever. 3,098 yards, 13 touchdowns, 9 picks. They had one of the best defensive tackles in the country in Jalen Twyman, but he opted out because of COVID. That should not hurt them this game, as I think Pitt should win. So those are the noon and midday games. Check the other one for my primetime games. Peace.